My name is Martin Brossman. I'm a success coach by trade. My passion has been helping men, and in 1995, I went through a divorce that led to a very deep depression, and the only thing that really kept me alive is I didn't want my parents have to face that I had taken my own life, which led to me starting a men's discussion group, which led to writing a book on it, led to me volunteering on the White House Council, proposed White House Council on Boys and Men, and a commitment to understanding that one of the key things is most of the suicides are still men, and how infused in our society we are blind to the pains of men. And all you have to do is think of comments about women and negative comments about men and switch the roles, and you'll realize how blind we are to it. And I became good friends with Tom Golden. He has an excellent book on it, The Way Men Heal. And I'm here because I want to continue to bring awareness to what I believe is young men today have a higher chance of suicide than ever before. Some of the numbers are 10 to 14, 60 to 70% over girls 30 to 40, adolescent 15 to 19, 70 to 80% over 20 to 30 in girls. Young men 75 to 80% versus 15 to 20 in the 20 to 24, and then overall basically 75%. This is an important issue, and I believe what happens with young men is we have less support for them, and then what they do is they either lash out or they lash in. And this is part of an important conversation I want to be part of. Thank you.
Marita, thank you. Martin, can you share your story? And then Doreen, I want you to jump in after Martin.
When I think of hope, I think that something else must be brought up, and that is purpose and meaning. And the thing that got me through when my practice marriage ended and I went in a deep depression was the purpose of staying alive for my parents. And a lot of excellent topics on love and hope and understanding people is important to consider, but sometimes you need to take a stand on something that may not look like just love. And I want to tell a story of a friend that I heard was considering taking his own life. His daughter was a teenager, and I knew that if I just told how much I cared about him, it wouldn't get through to him. And I attempted that, and it made no difference. And he thought if he took his own life, his daughter would get a nice life insurance policy and be taken care of. And he had figured out how to do it to make it look like an accident. And I told him if he took his own life, I would guarantee his daughter would never get that money. And I'd stand up in court and prove that he had done it. And that's what stopped him. And my love and caring and concern in words would have made no difference with him. So sometimes love and compassion has a fierceness to it. And that's part of what I reconnected to with the men's work, because I had written off all those things. I had overly, what a guy said, you're a snag. What's that? Sensitive new age guy. Your heart with no spine. And I realized I had embraced the feminine part of myself before I honored and accepted the masculine, and that was what was missing. And we need to understand in purpose and meaning, it's okay to pick something. It doesn't always mean that's your divine calling in life. It's just important enough to get a purpose and meaning who gets you through the next day. I've talked to a lot of young people who have been given love and cherishing and everything else, but not given the opportunity to fail enough, and they have no confidence. And I made a t-shirt that said, if your life's boring, it's because you're boring. Life begins outside your comfort zone. So I believe part of hope is about having the fierceness to take a stand and speak up for someone in difficult times, in difficult ways. And I believe my friend would not be alive today. In fact, we had the president of the Men's Center commit suicide, and he was surrounded with light and hope. And I'm still mad that I didn't go, cut this crap out. Let's pull him aside and say, no, this is not okay. This is not okay. I selfishly want you here. And give him some reason for purpose and meaning. So I believe we need to be open to all possibilities and look at what works in the different situations.
Martin, thank you.
I remember being in therapy, and a therapist who wasn't trained in the unique way men grieve. I was breaking down, emotion and tears, and he said, you really need to get more in touch with your feelings. And I looked over, this was during my practice marriage, at my wife then, and saw disdain. And I told the therapist, if I do this at work at IBM, I'll lose my job. And he said, oh, this is important to get in touch with your feelings. And so I realized that what I've learned since is, for many men, we haven't been stuffing good times in those closets, but grief and shame and sadness. But we also need to be realistic about the world, that we have to find safe places to express it. And that was something that wasn't taught to me in the therapeutic world, and the importance of understanding how influenced we are as men in being shamed. At IBM, I'd lock myself in closet because I couldn't stop the tears, because I had started to open the closet door where I'd stuffed them all and they kept pouring out. And my therapist at the time goes, oh, this is good. They need to accept it. No, I'll lose my job. My wife at the time looks disgusted. And this is important, that we don't discount the unique things, that men may grieve differently. And I remember Robert Bly saying that we go from, when we go into depression that can then lead to suicide when we don't do the grief work. But the grief work of men may look different. And I'm going to tell a brief story of a friend of mine whose father died, and his wife was a nurse, and I was the more emotional of the two of us. And she says, he hasn't grieved his father's death. And I said, yes, he has. And she says, no, he hasn't. And I said, what's he doing in the backyard? I said, well, instead of grieving his father's death, he's been landscaping the backyard and transforming it. And I jokingly said, yeah, I'm from D.C., and I didn't even recognize the backyard when I came in. And then I said to her, where did he play with his father the most? And she said, in the backyard. You see, we need to have room for men to grieve by doing, not always feeling. And that's another way we have to start honoring and recognizing how we shame men, isolates them more. And I've been in a business men's group, and one of the guys kind of drifted off. And I go, no, I smell he's isolating too much. We need to go do something together. You see, not always expressing feelings is the doorway out of this. Sometimes we need to have permission to do something. And I think that's an important point that needs to be considered and recognized. And it's not talked about enough, because we have some fear if we do something to help men and boys, we'll take something away from women, when in actuality, we're taking lots away from women by not acknowledging the unique difference of how men grieve. Thank you.
Martin, thank you.
I was thinking about the years of being in men's groups, and how when I started, women would come and say, well, why isn't there a woman there defending themselves? And I've actually even led women's groups before. And it was when men finally have the courage to get together and build trust to talk to each other, you'd be surprised. It's usually not complaining about women. It's about addressing what's important to them and their concern that maybe their stepfather and how do they interact with them, or their father died and now their mother's treating them like dad and how weird that can be, or what type of son were they to their father. And these are the issues that in the 12 years and putting together the first book I found out, and it was different, but the key is how much work it takes for men to start just trusting other men and start being able to talk to them, and that it's okay that maybe we start by increasing relationships. We go for a walk, or like you said, a hike, or play golf, or for me, go to the range with somebody. That's my relaxation. And having these conversations is understand society doesn't realize how much work it is for men to get in a safe enough place to be just among men. When I went to the first men's weekend, which was called the Sterling Men's Weekend, the guy said, if I stick with you for 6 months, I then want you to go to this men's weekend. And he did. And I remember one time he didn't call me. He was a mentor in business. And he said, I broke my word to you. I didn't call you. What should be my penance? And I jokingly said 50 push-ups. And he put the phone down and he said, guys, count it out. He was with his men's group. And I heard a guy at least 10 or 12 years older than me doing 50 push-ups. I was then terrified because I realized now I had to keep my word and go to a group of men exploring life. And I had no idea how afraid I was of it and how afraid I was of being judged. You see, women don't usually wake up and ask, am I woman enough? But men do have a conversation, am I man enough? And it's okay to have that conversation. They don't have to just completely embrace something different. It's okay to be fierce, but find the right time for it. In fact, if you aren't, you'll probably become passive aggressive and more violent and lashing out. And that's what I learned is that safe space for men, we need to realize, look around. Most of the men's centers have been eradicated. If you try to raise money for men, forget it. I've been volunteering for a proposed White House Council for Men's and Boys. They'll never hear it in Washington. Start noticing how we have very little tolerance in this area. Boys are playing video games because it's the only place left for them to win. When I went to high school, we had, instead of Ritalin, we had recess, and we went out and almost killed each other several times a day, and there was room for that. We don't have room for that anymore. So we're creating an army of young men that will be lashing out more or lashing in, I see, at a logarithmic rate until this change. And you say, well, why aren't men standing up for them? Because if you speak up for men in business, your career could be over in a heartbeat. Just a heartbeat. It's actually going to be mothers that say enough is enough. I've had so many mothers come to me. I had my friend write the book called Helping Mothers Be Closer to Their Men. They go, I know how to fight with my daughter, but I have no idea how to interact with my son. And I said, Tom, you must write this book. And even then, I'll give women this book and they'll not read it. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but complain about it. To understand there is something different, and until we start turning around and seeing this. I remember when I had to embrace the masculine in myself to see other men. It's hard to understand, but now I look and can see other men. I can see younger men, and they can tell. This is hard work. This is not touchy-feely work. This is fearful work. This is warrior work, and we need room for that to create everything we're talking about in this meeting today.
Martin, I want to say, Martin, thank you. And at some point, we're going to have to come back, maybe not today, of course, but talk about masculine and feminine energies and how that kind of works. That's not the place for this conversation. I do appreciate it. Rick, I know you've got something.
I do.
I think, Marita, you've got something. I'm going to let the two of you go. Then I'm going to say something, and then we're going to continue.
All right, Martin, I've got a proposal for you. I will work with you to help build these men's groups, to help get these men to stand up, because I need that. I do not cherish being a man like I should. I was bullied. I was raped. Men have been awful to me. And that's why I turned to my mom, I think, for her mentorship. So this is very, very, very important to all of us men to be able to do exactly what you are saying and doing. And I want to join with you, however I need to do that, to help you raise funds, to help you set this thing up, and to help it become a reality. Because boys like me, there's boys in this crowd who probably need that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I promise you, commitment right now.
I've got to add one more quote. I really want to notice what you said is if we had the meeting only about women, we'd have fine talking about it. But once we make a distinction that leans towards men, feel the resistance, feel the uncomfortableness. That will reveal how systemic this is. And until we do that, we aren't going to have a solution to suicide. It's 70% to 80 male to 20 to 25% female. Thanks.
Marita?
Interesting space to be in the middle of here for a moment.
Well, I'm absolutely.
I love it though.
Thank you so much, Martin. 2 minutes, Martin.
Yeah, you got it. Meditation is one of the most valuable things that introduced in my life. Years ago, I got a transcendental meditation and took it. Before that, I would have to swim about a mile in college to be able to focus at all. This was pre-Ritalin or anything else, but I was very high strung. And I did a 10-day noble sit, which actually almost killed me in a humorous way. And what I learned about meditation was this idea of just emptying your mind is pretty ridiculous for most of us Westerners. That's something that happens about 40 years after someone's doing this, that it was really about sitting and breathing and witnessing my existence. And when I did the 10-day noble sit, my friend who was a veteran who meditation helped him tremendously with his own PTSD from Vietnam. He would do like 30-day sits. And he told me this might be the most confrontive weekend, 10 days you ever have. And he was right, because when I sat there in this intense meditation, many hours a day, noise comes up. And that's part of it. And it's really important to know that for people doing meditation, just sitting still and witnessing your existence, maybe you're breathing or focusing on your center of balance, it's okay that it's disruptive, and let it go and come back to it. My best friend one time said, when I meditate on a regular basis, it profoundly improves my life. That's why I stopped. And that describes the human condition tremendously. And so it's easy for me to forget and go, oh, I have this wonderful tool of meditation. And that there is a difference between walking and doing others. To just sit upright, breathe, and witness your existence is very, it's okay. That might only take a few minutes, but it's very profound. So that's why I want to share around, it's being with yourself. And you might need permission to just start with a few minutes.
Doreen, you got 1 minute. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin.
We started the timer for you. I help individuals and small businesses have a fierce competitive advantage in the marketplace, in their life, online and offline, as a success coach. I do training and public speaking and professional speaking. That's my livelihood. I have a gift in hearing the greatest resource an individual has and helping them become more effective. I'm an advocate of play to your strengths, not just improve your weaknesses. And I've been doing this since I left IBM in 95. I have about 18,000 pages of index content on Google, so you can learn about me by Googling my name. My passion on the side is the issue of men's issues, so I want to honor Tom Golden with two of his many books. One is The Way Men Heal. And
Can you
the
show
other,
that to the camera?
Yeah, I'll put it up here. The Way Men Heal, a must read. Remember, it's a pathway. We usually start with depression that then leads to suicide. And I'm not certain that's the only path, but we want to stop all paths. Highly recommend it. And then for any mothers who want to relate to their sons, and it's helping mothers be closer to their sons. Because in 12 years of leading the men's discussion group, I'd have mothers call me and go, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And I will share my first book, but it's dense, is Finding Our Fire. It's over 12 years of leading the men's discussion group. And then my one coming out in 2025 is Taboo, the Lost Codes of Men. If men need socialization to mature, what is that components? And I propose we've pretty much gutted our society of almost all of them. And if you look at prisons, they're filled with men which have been initiated into the dark side because we don't offer the other. So exciting to be here.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us in person and virtually. Of course, I want to thank all of my panel members. It's been a blessing to get to know you even briefly. With the Envision Speaker Series, as the host of the Envision Speaker Series, is my vision to bring these conversations with the help of Cheyenne, her husband Don, and of course, Coach Rick, across the nation, hopefully across the world, because this is something that is needed. It's desperately needed. Thank you all.
Yeah, and great job.
Everybody know about the other pieces of this puzzle, because this is we're really working to lay the groundwork for this to not just be a one-day event and that's it. Because we know that this problem is big. It needs a lot of attention. We're working on building a localized team here. We want to build localized teams across the country. So please do know, we do have a flyer in the lobby. If you haven't picked one up, please do. And in that flyer, across the hall here in the fellowship hall is what we're calling the wellness experience. And we encourage everybody to sit and speak with these incredible people that we have assembled over there, because there's so many ways that we can become empowered to be able to take more control over our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. And these folks can give people ideas on how to do that. There is a listing here of 6 little brief seminar workshops that are going to go on in the classroom that is just off the fellowship hall. When you walk in there, it's towards the back on the right. We took the pre-K classroom and turned it into an adult classroom for this afternoon. So please take a look at that schedule. And, our very first one up is Miss Nina Del Vecchia. And if there's anybody here who's feeling any kind of, emotional stuff as a result of what's been the conversation here, she's going to do kind of a post-panel group discussion. And it's all about whatever you guys want to talk about. She is a grief and resilience coach. And so she will kick us off at noon. And then we've got all kinds of incredible people who will be in that room. So pick up your form and take a look at, or the flyer and take a look. And then I encourage everybody to look at the back of that sheet as well, because 4:30 to 6:30 this afternoon, we are going to take over the flowers field at Dorothea Dix Park. And this is an important part of this event as well. You've heard people talk about energy in different ways. And, we are energetic. If somebody has a heart attack, they use electricity to bring us back. So we are energetic, electrical type beings. And we're wanting to build the energy up there at Dix Park. And, we've heard people say, we're inviting God back into this society. We want help. We're asking for help. teach us, what do we need to do to be able to save more people? And how do we build facilities like what Stephanie's building? How do we get these done? And so everybody can play a role. If you're just a prayer warrior, great. Come and be a prayer warrior. But we are going to have a electronic form that people can fill out and say, you know what? I have this kind of skill set. I have this kind of talent. I could help out here. I could help out there. Because that's the biggest problem we've got right now is too many people are sitting in silos with these incredible ideas. Like you've heard some of them here. You'll hear more of them at the park tonight. We've got to come together. We've got to unite. That's why it's a beautiful thing. We're here at Unity today. So just want to make sure everybody is aware of all that. And there's all the information you need on these little flyers. So if you didn't get one, please pick one up in the lobby and let me know how I can be of service. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of you being here today.